Tom. So what are the latest developments in the Pacific?
Ros, good afternoon. Well, thousands of kilometres off the east coast of Australia, there's rapid changes taking place. In the central Pacific, which is the engine room of El Niño, the sea surface temperatures are warming rapidly. Now, in this box that's called the Niño 3.4 box, it's now comfortably warmer than normal. And in fact, since the start of the year, this Niño 3.4 box has climbed by more than 1 degree. That is the most rapid transition from La Niña towards El Niño since 1976. And what we're looking at here then is the Bureau's latest modelling forecast for El Niño for the rest of the year. And what it shows is that by late in the year, that Niño 3.4 index could even get close to 3 degrees. Now, that's comfortably above the El Niño threshold. And if this forecast proves correct, it would make it the strongest El Niño on record. Now, there are other models from other global agencies, and they're not quite so aggressive with that forecast. Regardless, though, of the actual strength, what's important for Australia, though, is the impacts of El Niño are not proportional to the strength. So if it does become a record El Niño, that doesn't necessarily mean we'll see record drought.
OK, so can you take us through some of the common misconceptions about El Niño?
There are a few of them, Ros. Some of them, the more common ones that I've seen, is that, firstly, it's not a weather event like a thunderstorm. El Niño just refers to changes in the oceanic and atmospheric conditions across the Pacific, but those changes can alter weather patterns across the world for up to 12 months, particularly in countries like Australia that border the Pacific. Now, another myth is that it's a weather forecast that can be inaccurate. Well, it's not. It's actually an observation. So a declaration of El Niño, or its opposite La Niña, cannot be wrong or inaccurate regardless of the actual weather that you're experiencing on the ground. Also, that El Niño causes dry summers. Now, that's a myth, and that came to light during the last El Niño in 2023. Many people were expecting a dry summer in Australia when historically there is no evidence at all that El Niño does bring dry summers. And another one is it's assumed that black summer was El Niño, but 2019 was actually a neutral year in the Pacific. The cause of the drought and the fires in that year was due to other climate drivers, the Indian Ocean and also the polar vortex.
So what can we expect in an El Niño year?
All right, well, let's go through some of those rain predictions then in a little bit more detail. So what we're looking at here is the average rainfall seen in each season during La Niña and El Niño during past events. And you can see that the peak drop in rain for Australia occurs in winter and spring, where on average across the whole country, there's a lowering of about 25 to 30% of rainfall, but you can see by summer the impact completely dissipates. Now, La Niña, it's not quite the same. It peaks in spring in terms of the increase in rainfall, and we still see wetter summers and even the following autumn when you do have La Niña years. But of course, this drop in rainfall during El Niño, it's not uniform across the whole country. It is most marked across the eastern states. So generally, across the eastern states, we see rainfall in the sort of low 2 or 3 deciles, so the bottom 20 to 30% of years. And many western parts of the country see almost no impact from El Niño in terms of that rainfall. Now, the impact on temperatures is far more complex and it's also longer lasting. For maximum temperatures, well, they're generally higher than normal from winter right through until at least January or February, with a peak impact late in the year. So this is the October to December maximums from past events as a decile. And you can see for southeast Australia, there are often those temperatures in the top 20% of years. There are also other impacts, Ros. Generally, you see a longer and more intense bushfire season. You see more extreme heat, more heat waves, and on average, a poor snow season.
Thanks for that, Tom.